originally, Native and I had both made a post on like this local music site, and we were both kind of looking for the same thing. I think I had just moved back to Illinois, and I think I've been here. Oh, I was there probably about a year or so before I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get back into it. And Dave and I actually we started talking in the summer of 2016, and for whatever reason, it's actually both of us, I think, but we never actually got together. We never hung out, never tried it. And then we actually did the same exact thing in the fall, and that was September. It was like beginning of September or middle of September, I can't remember, but same thing happened, and we realized, like, holy shit, we've already talked to each other. And I think at that point he was over whatever he was over. I was definitely ready to jump back into another project, and him and I set that date up, and we started jamming.
At that point, I was pretty much already kind of frustrated with what I was trying to do music-wise and everything, because I met a couple of drummers that were just they weren't feeling it. One of them was a drug addict, and I just didn't want any part of that. So the radio silence at the beginning when we first talked about jamming was kind of my fault because I backed out. But then I lost his contact info, and I was kind of frustrated about it. And then turns out I met this dude who was the same dude I was talking to before, so we ended up hooking up and jamming out. I'm not like hooking up, but he's my boo though. But then we jammed the first day, and we wrote a song the first day, so I felt pretty comfortable with where I was, so I left my shit there.
So then Native comes up, and he pulls up in a Ford truck, and I was like, son of a bitch, I'm a Chevy guy, whatever, let's kind of see where this goes. But he comes out, I had a couple other buddies there, and they left, and I think before we even jammed, we knocked out probably 3 beers just kind of bullshitting right there, because before I jam with somebody, I want to be able to know that I can even get along with you, because that's a lot of hours and time spent. And sure shit, man, we got along, and we went down there, and I'll say within first few hours we had our song that's titled Gold right now. We had that knocked out and done. And I told him, we went back upstairs to kind of take a break out in my garage where we always hang out at, and I was like, man, I tell you, I haven't felt this good about jamming with anybody in a while.
So at this point, I'm in my truck, my Ford, which Booker still gives me shit to this day for it. I didn't listen to any music on the way there, just because my nerves were, I just needed to think, like, is this guy gonna be cool and everything, blah blah blah, and lo and behold, he was. But I'm in my truck, and I distinctively remember blaring "Disciple" by Slayer. This is my favorite Slayer song, and just the whole way home, I'm just thrashing all of my hair around, and we had a phone call. It was like, how'd it go? Well, I left my shit there. So if that says anything. And yeah, I left one of my favorite guitars there, and I left my amp there, and got home and just immediately started writing, just one song after another. And the next one I brought to the table was Vengeance.
So at this point, Nave and I've cracked out 4 songs. I can't remember. At this point, it was Gold, Vengeance, I think 13, and I don't know. Honestly, man, I can't remember the last one. But I remember we just knocked it out, and we had a practice, and Native came over, and it was still him and I at this point. And this was one of many times where he was supposed to come over, we're gonna jam, no jamming happened. This was just one of those, we're gonna drink beer. At this point, him and I are becoming brothers, and we just kind of talked on, all right, so we have this foundation, the next step is auditions. And that's the story of Silent IRE's auditions. So we found the crew, and I tell you, man, for what we needed at the point and what it was exactly what we needed. So we got it all down. We got our members at this point. We got our crew. Next up, let's hit the studio.
So the four songs that we'd had, um, we picked two that we really wanted to get into the studio with, and it was Vengeance and Serpent. And um, up to this point, I was missing practices and stuff like that because my old man was battling for his life against cancer and shit. So I was trying to spend as much time as I could there, and still knowing that we had to be in the studio and everything. And then I made the phone call that I did not want to ever have to make. I called my brother Booker and said, hey, he's gone. And they're like, oh, that we'll just forget the studio and everything. And now, less than 16 hours after he'd passed, we're in the studio recording Serpent. If that ever let them know my my level of seriousness and dedication to what we have, that was it.
Not that I ever questioned dedication from Native, but I will never forget him pulling up in his truck and just giving him the biggest fucking hug in the world, man. Because I lost somebody close to me, and that's how my last band ended. So I understood. So I'll tell you, man, any officers watching this, I'm sorry. We grabbed a couple road sodas and we made our way, but we got it all done. We completed it. We killed it. We crushed it. And it was time to put them up. And we were lucky enough for the right people to end up hearing that. And again, keep in mind, we've only been a band as a whole maybe 6 to 8 months at that point. Like it was fast. We always say in our time in Silent IRE is we've never had the pleasure of time at all.
So now we're being pushed on Rock Rage Radio and everything. Our likes and followers have boosted up, and they contact us and say, hey, what do you guys think about playing Rocklahoma? So we go and check it out, and we look at the Dark Side stage, which is where we ended up playing, and on the main grounds had Godsmack, Hailstorm, all them, and we're just, yeah, okay. And we ended up playing twice because a band ended up having to back out, and they're like, hey, where you guys at? About an hour and a half out. Can you play tonight? Sure. And I'm glad that happened because the first night was the biggest night that we played in front of probably about 600 people.
So it was the second night we played Rocklahoma. We're in the back, and our buddy Jared Bishop from at the time was in the band Bishop came up, and as a rule we always give a I don't know, we kind of always do shots beforehand. And Jared comes up, I think it was tequila that we did at the point, and all right, so here we go. We're in the back. We all chug it. Off we go. But before we go on, Dawn from actually Curtain Call Records and Rock Ridge comes up and announces right before the second night that we played that, boom, Silent IRE signed to Curtain Call Records. And honestly, nobody else was fit to do that besides Dawn, because we've talked to her for about a year almost, from when that was, and just seeing her actually in person, that was the first time we met in person, was honestly amazing. So we're living on cloud nine off of that. Next step, boom, we come home and time to do a signing party show. Tell the world that we're signed with Curtain Call. And then of course, fast forward a few months, our luck, the Silent IRE luck comes back in.
So after, some string of shows and shit like that, come Christmas time and all the holidays, we kind of slowed down a little bit and started working on 2019 dates and everything. And then after New Year's, 'tis the season, audition time. And yeah, here we go again.
Yep. Again, here we go. We've dealt with 2 members leaving before, or I guess 1 member at that time leaving before, and now we have 2 more that they felt it was time to go. What do you do?
So we had 2 members just quit, and we decide, fuck it, we're gonna head over to the bar. And our guitarist at the time, Mooney, says, fuck it, I'll sing. And we didn't even hesitate. Okay. And then, as per tradition, in shitty times in the band, we went to the studio.
So not only are we at the bar deciding, okay, Mooney's going to go from rhythm guitar to lead vocals. So we had two people gone. Not only are we dealing with that, but we just decided to take a risk, and it was honestly probably the hardest decision I think we've made as a band ever, was, leaving Curtain Call Records. We've been with John, Gigi, Dawn for, what would be 2 years now. And that was rough. And honestly it still is, because we have a lot of love for Curtain Call and Rock Rage and, especially those guys. And actually the whole family in general, we love them. And, we made a decision that, if we're changing every aspect, this is the one shot that we get. Let's test it out. And, that's where Sarah and Dee from Integrity Music Management come in, and so we're dealing with all this, and we have a 2-week deadline that we have to get Haunted and Raise Your Fist on, and we don't have a bassist at all.
Well, going into the studio was, I don't know, because up until this point, Mooney was rhythm guitars, but for Haunted, he was the lead guitarist. He brought in the lead on it. So he went ahead and laid his leads down and everything, but I went ahead and laid the bass and rhythm guitar on it. And then for Raise Your Fist, it was the same for me, rhythm guitar and bass, and not very much lead or anything like that. And then he threw his vocals on top of it. And after those were done, it was like, okay, now it's great, those are done. We need to find a fourth member who can pluck 4 strings, and we did a little bit of searching and everything, and a mutual friend of ours who was actually in our music video said, hey, I know a guy. We tried him out, and just like instantly fucking hashed out like 3 songs. There were hiccups and scratches here and there, but I mean, what do you expect from a guy's first time auditioning with a band, not learning any of the music except, hey, how you doing? Okay, and then we found JT. That's where he came in.
Sigh of relief. It's exactly how I felt. We jammed. We made him do Vengeance. We made him do a couple other ones, and that first practice, we're like, yeah, you basically have it, but the second and third and the fourth, like, everything from that point on really solidified his place in the band. And we went and did a party for signing with Integrity Music Management, and then seeing him go from, the basement atmosphere to like our practice atmosphere to live, and you're in front of people, and that was not a empty venue by any means. It was packed, and just seeing him like smile and have fun and crush it, like I have, like, to this point right now, this is the best iteration of Silent IRE that we have ever fucking had.
And see, when we asked Mooney to join the band, like I'd have already known him for probably 10 years. I haven't done music with him that entire time. That's how I met him. I knew where Mooney's heart was. His heart's always been, I want to take over the world doing music. And so bringing in a new cat was kind of sketchy, in the back of my mind. But I had to feel him out a little bit. And after knowing where he stands with what he wants to do with music, where he wants to go, there's no better fourth member of this band, I think. And what I love is that all 4 of us are fucking songwriters. For the first time in history of this band, we are all songwriters. And the music is just progressively getting better.